It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack Mr. Magic Marley Marl. I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Smoking weed and bamboo, sipping on private stock. Way back when I had the red and black lumberjack with the hat to match. Remember rapping Duke? The hard, you never thought that hip-hop would take.
Welcome back to another episode of Podward State. I'm Krause.
I'm Grace Cunningham.
I'm Shannon Smith.
Today we had NFL sideline reporter Melanie Collins on the pod. She was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. We haven't had an episode in a while, and that was a great one to come back to.
Yeah, definitely. I loved having her.
Yeah, she was very articulate and spoke super well.
Yeah, and it was cool seeing her perspective as a State College native too.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No.
I saw it, but I thought it was a consensus that we knew that.
Oh, yeah, I was like, oh, makes sense.
Yeah, but she's with CBS Sports now, but she's done a lot of things with the Golf Channel, college football, the NBA, so she's really done it all in the sports world, so it was very neat hearing her perspective.
Yeah, it was an awesome episode.
Yeah, I think she gave great advice for college students and also for women pursuing sports industry jobs, because I know it can be tough. So it was really good advice.
We're excited for you guys to listen.
Yeah, we hope she gets to do a Super Bowl soon.
Yeah, we'll manifest for her.
Yes. Now we're gonna get into some sports.
They miss me. I never thought it could happen, this rapping stuff. I was too used to packing gats and stuff. Now honeys play me close like butter play toast. From the Mississippi down to the
SPORTS, sports. I am your hostess with Mrs. Tobey Prime, joined with Charlie and Mara. How we doing, guys?
Pretty good, Toby. How are you?
Feeling good. Actually, I'm not feeling good. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Get right into it.
Overall, mental health is all right, though. That's always good.
Nice. Yeah.
But a little upset about some recent news. Charlie, how about you?
I'm all right. I'm excited to hear what you're upset about.
Oh, yeah, well, why don't we just dive into it, because it starts with Penn State basketball. I guess we'll start off with the good news. Since the last pod, they went on a tear in the Big Ten tournament where they beat Illinois, Northwestern, Indiana, went all the way to the championship. Almost had a chance at the buzzer to take down Purdue, but they made the NCAA tournament. So that's some great news. First time since 2011. They were a 10 seed. We actually took a little road trip with fellow podcasters Keely and Krause and myself and Stutz. Literally a whole pod crew went down to Des Moines, Iowa, which was a lot of fun, where we saw them beat Texas A&M behind Andrew Funk masterclass of 27.80% from beyond the arc for their first 20 wins since before I was even born, which was ridiculous. But then they dropped to just a better team in Texas. But they finished the season 6-2. Biggest loss was by 5, and that was to Texas. So just a great way to end the ride. But the bus just stopped and really just crashed with news that happened about 2 hours before, where Micah Shrewsbury decided to take his talents to South Bend and is now going to be the next head coach for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That took a lot out of me to say. But I guess just overall raw reactions, how are we feeling about that decision?
It sucks. I feel for the other basketball people in the room here.
Yeah, just disappointing, leaving a team on the up and up, best recruiting class, I believe, in school history. Yep, so they're all going to probably just not come here anymore, and he's leaving for what was the second worst team in the ACC this year. So, all around kind of upset.
I'll be interested to hear what Penn State's offer was. The Shrewsbury, I'm sure Pat Kraft was willing to give away his kidney and probably an arm and a leg to keep Shrewsbury.
I believe that.
Overall, I just felt like hometown really just was Shrew's decision. He wanted to be back where it all started, and it just sucks because it seemed like Penn State basketball was finally starting to be serious. But who knows what will come out of all of this. But like you said, I'm now worried about what players are going to enter the portal. So
it's going to be like everyone. Seth Lundy declaring for the draft. I mean,
Dallion's out, Dorsey's out, Lundy for draft. We'll see what happens to Kanye, Keba, Evan. But dark times. Dark times.
All right. Anyway, so that stinks. But you know what doesn't stink? Finally, Penn State baseball. they're off to a 12-5 start, yet to begin conference play. But it's been a hot start. They dropped 2 out of 3 to Miami, but I mean Miami's 22 in the nation. Can't ask for anything too special. Went on a 5-game winning streak against Northern Illinois, Monmouth, Wagner, and then Dartmouth. And they split a whole series with Holy Cross. So, I mean, just a solid year all around so far for Penn State baseball. They're starting Big Ten play against Michigan and Ann Arbor this weekend. So, be interesting to see how they do once they start the real conference play. But all around, they've put themselves in an okay spot. Last night was Dollar Dog Night. They beat Binghamton 15-1 on Dollar Dog Night.
Wow.
So, on the up and up for Penn State baseball. It's not even basketball season anymore.
No, I saw that every regular starter is hitting above 250. Jay Harry's become the RBI machine, and Kyle Hannon's leading the squad with 5 homers. And also they're starting 2 pitchers, Travis Lausman and Daniel Odekirk. Jeez, what a last name, buddy. But they're pitching lights out, so it's good to see that we have 2 great starting pitchers and batters that can actually hit. We'll see what happens with Big Ten play, because Big Ten's, pretty much kind of historically better than Penn State, but up and up.
It'll be an interesting test this weekend, no doubt.
100%.
Yeah, another spring sport on the up and up here. We have softball starting off 18-4 on the season. They won all of their games in the University of North Florida Jacksonville tournament, allowing just a single run during its 5-game stretch where they scored 28.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then they won back-to-back games in the Queen City Classic, which was another tournament they played in over spring break. But then they dropped 3 straight after that, so they went 2-3 in that tournament. But then they kind of flipped it around in the Pirate Spartan Classic, where they won 3 straight. And they've won 8-1 since, with its most recent win coming against Pitt, which happened last night.
Let's go.
Caitlin Morrison's batting .403 with 20 RBIs and 4 home runs, and Lexi Black also has 19 RBIs. They're also doing very well on the offensive front. And then also from the bullpen, Bailey Parshall and Kylie Lingenfelter. Bailey Parshall obviously doing her thing. She continued from last season with a 1.24 ERA and 95 strikeouts. And last night she also earned her 700th career strikeout, making her
Congratulations.
second with most strikeouts in program history, I believe.
Wow.
And then Kylie Lingenfelter right behind her is undefeated with a 5-0 record with a 1.84 ERA and 54 strikeouts. Softball will also start Big Ten play this weekend against Iowa.
Softball school, dare I say?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they're totally set.
Crazy. Let's go.
Let's get into some lacrosse, guys. Starting with the women, they are having a great year so far. They're 8-2 with wins over number 17 Rutgers and number 14 Princeton, and one of their only losses was to a tough Loyola team who's ranked 8th currently. Just been a good year so far. Sophomore Brooke Haas has been a machine. Defensively, they've been unbelievable. Really just great things so far. They are going to take on Ohio State this weekend at Panzer. So be there, be square. Big rivalry game, home game. Go support the girls. And then as we go over to the men, they have been on an absolute tear. They just lost to Marquette, which was tough. But before that loss, they were on a 3-game ranked win streak against number 3 Cornell, number 10 Penn.
Against the Smarties.
Against a bunch of nerds, Cornell, Penn, and Yale. So good job taking down them. I think they're all that. Those are big wins. I know a kid who goes to Penn. He's pretty good, so that's a good win right there. You guys got any thoughts on LAC so far?
It's just nice to see spring sports all winning at the same time.
Who even cares about basketball, right?
Yeah.
We're moving on. It's a new season.
About it. I guess this might be the only winter sport team still alive is men's hockey. I know they stopped their series against Ohio State to kick off the Big Ten tournament, but they're number 2 seed in the NCAA one, which means a lot more. And they'll be playing number 13 Michigan Tech in the first round in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which, what a blessing that they can play like an hour away.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's huge.
It's going to be a big series for it all. I mean, show out for the boys. I think they have like a shuttle going to Allentown, and that'll happen this weekend.
Yeah,
a day trip with the guys or gals.
With the fellas.
Get some hockey into you and really any lines. But, yeah, we'll see if they can get it done. They've been pretty cold to end their season. But
someone say ice cold. Hey.
Good one there. Good one there. But all the best of luck to the men on the ice.
Good luck out there, boys.
And what about wrestling, Mara? I know they just had a pretty fantastic past weekend.
Yeah, so just their whole postseason run was pretty awesome. They started off winning the Big Ten championship, where Roman Bravo Young, Levi Haynes, Carter Starace, and Aaron Brooks all took home individual titles, where they also took home the team title, which was awesome. Then Levi Haynes was named the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, and Cale Sanderson obviously was named the Coach of the Year. After that, I guess it was 2 weeks later, they traveled to Tulsa for the NCAA championship, and they won their 10th national championship in 12 seasons under Cale Sanderson. So, wow. Yeah, Carter Starace and Aaron Brooks took first place, while RBY, Levi Haynes, and Greg Kirkfleet took second. Shane Van Ness and Bo Bartlett took third, and Max Dean took seventh among the rankings at the end of the weekend. Starace and Brooks are now among the Hodge Trophy finalists, so we'll see how that plays out by the end of the week. On a little bit of a sadder note, it was hard to see RBY and Max Dean finish out their careers like that without a win, but they still had awesome careers here. And I think it's just awesome to note all the things that are happening under Cale Sanderson's reign here. For him to have that many championships in just 12 seasons is crazy.
He's like the college sports GOAT.
Yeah.
Like, he's unbelievable. He just like never really shows emotion. He just like wins, and like the guys love him. I think everything Cale does is just kind of insane. He should coach every sport at Penn State.
Honestly, facts.
Yeah.
Put him on the basketball head coaching job. No, seriously though, like this needs more recognition on a national scale, just how dominant Penn State wrestling has been. 10 in the last 12. It's just redonkulous.
Yeah.
To me personally, like that's crazy. But
It's ridiculous.
Why and Dean go out like that? Did not expect that.
Penn State legends, absolutely.
Still awesome to watch.
No,
For sure.
that's all right. That's all.
That's been it for sports.
Hell yeah, guys.
Yeah.
It's great talking to you.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for having us on, Tobey.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, dude.
It was anytime.
Joining us now, we have Penn State alum and NFL sideline reporter Melanie Collins joining us. Melanie, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you today?
Pretty good. We're excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So jumping right into it, how did you end up at Penn State?
How did I end up at Penn State? So I was actually born in State College, Pennsylvania at Mount Whitney Medical Center. So that is my hometown. I grew up there. I went to State College High School, and my family still lives about 15 minutes away from campus. So I grew up with Penn State in my blood, going to football games. It was kind of always where I wanted to go. And then I remember when I was a junior and senior in high school and I started to apply to schools, I was kind of like, I should really get out of town. I should try something different. So I remember I applied to, I think, Miami, Auburn. I was like, I'm going south. I'm going where it's warm. And it just worked out where I got accepted into Penn State, and it was where I wanted to be in my heart. And I just decided to go for it. And it was such a blessing just being able to go to school and then on Sunday nights go home and have a home cooked meal for my mom and get my laundry done and all that good stuff. So it ended up being the best decision for me. But yeah, I was born there. So that's I always knew I wanted to go to Penn State.
Very cool. Did you know you wanted to pursue sports journalism, or did you kind of figure that out once you got here?
Yeah, it was something I kind of always knew I was into, but it wasn't until about my junior year that I really decided it was what I wanted to do. I grew up playing sports, and I grew up with brothers, and it was something that I was always into, but I also just knew I loved to perform. I went to acting classes, and I did a modeling school, and I just knew that I liked to be in front of people and performing in some way. So I remember around junior year, it's now the Bellisario School, but it was the John Curley Center for Sports Journalism, and it was new, and it was so exciting to know that we had this opportunity at Penn State to be in this broadcast journalism school. And I just felt like it was something where I could put performing together with sports and sort of keep both going as a career. And that was kind of when I decided that was what I was going to declare as my major. And so I majored in broadcast journalism and I minored in kinesiology. But it was about my junior year when I decided this was definitely something that I wanted to do.
Very cool. Yeah, that's so cool. So along with being in the Curley Center, did you have any internships while you were here at Penn State?
I did. So my first one, I actually think my first internship was in my sophomore year. It was with WPSU TV. And I was so blessed to be given a show with Steve Jones, who as the voice of the Nittany Lions for so long, and it was called Let's Talk Sports Nittany Lion Fans, and we talked Penn State football, all the things. So I actually was given this opportunity to have my own show where I could have tape then for like a reel down the road, which was so awesome. And then they also had me compiling stats, and I would go out on location to baseball games, volleyball games, football games, and do different things on site, like stand-up reports. So WPSU TV was one of my internships. And then my junior year, I applied for an internship with Big Ten Network, and I was able to get a ton of great experience with that too. They had me pulling tables for the sideline reporter at the Penn State games, and I was able to host an on-campus show where we would just sort of tour different parts of campus. So even some of it wasn't necessarily sports related, but it was awesome experience on camera, which is so important to get while you're still in school, so that when you graduate, you have something to show, potential networks that you're looking to get hired by.
It's probably hard to pinpoint just one since you grew up here too, but what is your favorite memory at Penn State?
Oh my gosh, it is so hard to pinpoint just one. I would say probably just senior year, knowing that it was our last year there. Going to football games has to be the best memory. It's kind of something that we did my whole life. My dad had a tailgate on the corner of where the intramural building is. And then my mom and my stepdad had a tailgate on the other side, kind of where like the farmland is. And we had so many friends with tailgates. And I just remember waking up at like an 8 a.m. on a Saturday and getting ready to go and walking up to the stadium so early, even if it was a night game. And we would just spend all day up there and have so much fun with our friends. So I think tailgating and Penn State football is definitely my best and most fun memory from Penn State. But gosh, there are so many great memories.
Do you have a favorite bar here too?
Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh. It's crazy how much it's changed downtown since I was there. We did a lot of Mad Mex, the Lion's Den, Cafe 210 West was a big spot when I was there. We loved pickles. I actually worked as a bartender when I was in school there. So I worked at Tony's Big Easy, which I know is not there anymore, and Club Love, which was like up above Tony's Big Easy. It was on Pew Street. And same guy that owned the Shandy Gaff. Do you guys remember the Shandy Gaff and all? There's so many bars that aren't there anymore. And then Gingerbread Man, which I think now is a Chipotle or something. G-Man was like the spot. So gosh, all of those places were our spots. Definitely different now.
So what was the process like finding a job post-grad?
Yeah, great question. It was tough. I remember when I graduated, gosh, I think I had one of the edit guys at WPSU TV help me put together a reel of any on-camera experience that I had. So whether it was the WPSU TV stuff or it was Big Ten stuff, or even stuff from like classes like Thor Wasbutton's, broadcast journalism class that I took, I had some tape from that. And I remember putting together a reel, and I remember looking up addresses online of like the networks that I knew I wanted to work for. And I remember everyone telling me, start small, send to local networks first. You have no chance of getting hired by the big networks right out of school. So I sent, I think, close to 50 tapes out, and probably 47 of them were like local stations around Pennsylvania, some like in surrounding states. And then I sent one to Big Ten Network. I sent one to ESPN, and I sent, I can't remember where the third one was, but like 3 of them were to big networks. And I was just like throwing up a prayer. I was like, you never know, maybe like I'll get an internship or something in the door. And I got one call back, and it was Big Ten Network, because they were familiar with me from my internship. And they hired me right out of school as a Penn State football reporter for that fall. So I graduated in May. I was able to spend the summer at State College with my family. And then that fall, worked as the Penn State football reporter for Big Ten Network. And that was incredible. And then right from there, I remember I was able to sign with an agent that fall. And my agent helped me get my second job, which was with Turner Sports and NBA TV. So in December, I moved from State College to Atlanta to work for Turner Sports. And so I got really lucky not having to go the local news route where you're shooting all of your own stuff and doing all your own stand-ups, because I know it's super difficult, and sometimes it can get really discouraging, thinking you're never going to get to that next level of network if that's where you want to be. But I remember it being very challenging. I'm sure there are much more better ways now to get your work out there and get in touch with networks, but I'm kind of old now. It was like 15 years ago when I was sending out these tapes, and I just remember looking up addresses online and putting them in envelopes and dropping them in the mailbox. So things are different now, but it wasn't easy.
That's funny. So you've covered a ton of sports, golf, baseball, the World Cup. Was NFL always kind of the dream?
Yeah, it was. I always knew. So hockey and football were my favorite sports growing up. My dad is from Philadelphia, so we were big Philly sports fans. We watched the Flyers and the Eagles. Those were like our teams. And I always wanted to cover hockey and I always wanted to cover football. And it just so happened that I got my foot in the door on college football with Big Ten Network. And then I knew eventually the NFL was the goal, but I knew how much more difficult it was to get to that level. So I tried to get all the experience I could at college. I remember after I was with NBA TV for a while, I went back to Big Ten Network. And then a few years later, I joined CBS Sports on the college football side of things. So I was able to get 4 or 5 years of college football sidelines experience before they promoted me to the NFL. But yes, the NFL was always a dream of mine. It is still my dream to cover the Super Bowl. I'm close. So we'll see. I know Super Bowl's on CBS next year. So Tracy Wolfson is our A reporter, and she's the one who gets to cover the Super Bowl. But one day when Tracy maybe moves on, I hope to have that spot. So yeah, Super Bowl's the goal, and it's been amazing. I just finished my 5th year on the NFL, which is hard to believe. I can't believe how fast time flies, but it is an absolute blast. It's just as much fun, if not more, than I thought it would be when I was still in school, hoping to get to the NFL.
So between being at Big Ten Network and now being at CBS, what are some of the main differences you see between reporting for the NFL and college football?
Yeah, great question. So with college football, the games are longer, the commercial breaks are longer. There's just a lot more time in those games. So there's more time for the reporter to tell stories and to tell really good stories. You get more time to get things in. And of course, you have the pageantry with the bands, and there's just so many different things about college football. So many more, I don't want to say like more fun, but just human interest stuff that's just easier to get into college football games because those games are almost 4 hours. And then NFL games are very structured. They're shorter. It's like a 3-hour time window that you're getting that game in. So your reports are a little bit different. For college football, I might be telling a story about, a guy's family, and I can talk for 45 seconds before I have to throw it back to the guys in the booth. Whereas in the NFL, your time frame to get a story in is just so much shorter. So it's really a skill that you have to kind of like get in and out quickly before the ball is snapped because the camera doesn't want to miss the snap of the ball. So you're sort of compiling all your information into these smaller blurbs. And then in the NFL, things like weather, injuries, those are the most important things that they want in an NFL broadcast. Did a guy just go into the blue injury tent? What did you see? And make it quick. How is the weather affecting the game? Is the ball slipping? Did the quarterback put gloves on? Did he change his cleats? Things like that. That's much more what we're looking for on the NFL side of things. Whereas in college football, there's just so much more time to tell great stories about people. Not that there's no time for that in the NFL. There is. It's just a little bit more condensed, and it just depends on the flow of the game, determining how much of that you get in during a broadcast. So I'd say that's the biggest difference between college and NFL.
So besides football, what was your favorite sporting event to cover? I know I'm a big golf fan, so seeing Big Break and stuff like that is really cool. But
yeah,
more than that. So what, other than football, what's your favorite thing to do?
So it's funny you mentioned Big Break. Golf is definitely up there in my top favorite things to cover. I love to play golf myself, so anything golf related. And the Big Break was, gosh, it was such a fun show. I'm sad they ended it. I wish we could have done more seasons, but it was a show where they would send me and Tom Abbott, my co-host, to a course for 2 straight weeks. We would shoot every day from when the sun came up to when the sun went down. 2 weeks straight. That was what it took to shoot a whole season. And gosh, Tom is just such a blast. He's from London, and he just has the most quick wit, amazing sense of humor, and we just laugh all day long on the course. And then just getting to meet the contestants and the challenges, and gosh, it was so fun to shoot. I would say in addition to Big Break, I did a bunch of fill-in hosting on Sports Nation on ESPN. I don't remember if you guys remember that show, but it was such a blast. It was kind of just like one of those just fun shows where you make fun of things in sports and you show silly highlights and you have guests on and you just sort of, I don't know, it's just one of those like less serious kind of sports shows, which I love. I don't think sports should be taken so seriously all the time. So that was one of my favorites to host. And then I remember my first big gig that NBA TV sent me on was covering NBA All-Star, and I got to interview Kobe Bryant. And that was like, gosh, my first couple months in the business. And here I was interviewing like the biggest stars in the NBA. And I just remember that being such a like pinch me moment. I was like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't believe that I was on that court with Kobe Bryant and, you know, Al Horford and guys like that. So
you there a big break when Tony Finau was a contestant?
I wasn't. Tony Finau was, I think, a season or two before I was the host. So I did not get a chance to cover him on Big Break, but I know it was a great season.
So obviously you have a lot of fans and people who look up to you, especially young girls. Do you have any moments with supporters that especially touched you or that you can remember well?
I can't remember any that like specifically stand out with one person, but I feel so just like my heart feels full just hearing from girls that write me on social media and ask questions and ask if they can interview me for their school project or, ask for tips on how to make it in the business and any insights that I might have. I just feel touched that anyone, looks up to me in any way and wants me to help them out. So again, for any of you that ever need help in the business or pointers or someone to shadow, if anyone ever wants to come out to a game and follow me around on the field and just see how things are done, I absolutely love to help out and I'm always here as a resource. So I can't think of like one specific moment, but there have been a lot during games where people will just, yell and say hi and come up to me and just say really nice things. And I just always am very humbled and always appreciate it.
Yeah, so kind of going off that, I know being a woman in sports, it can kind of be hard to always be taken seriously. Do you have one piece of advice to give for girls and women who are coming up in this industry for them?
Yeah, and for a long time, it was very hard for women to be taken seriously in sports. I think the last few years, there's been a really positive change where women are taken more seriously. There's a lot more opportunity for us. There's a lot more room for us. My biggest piece of advice would just be to always be as prepared as possible. Sometimes I'll be on an airplane flying to a game and the guy next to me will recognize me and he'll start quizzing me about stuff. And it's like, really? You're going to test my knowledge here on this plane, are you? But just, always be prepared. Always, whatever sport that you're covering or want to cover, just always being up with the latest information, the latest moves, who's been traded where, who's coaching here, just the biggest storylines, and just following all of that and being as prepared as possible. I think that's kind of what builds your credibility. And I just think for me, being on, my NFL crew and being in rooms with these players and coaches, just showing up as prepared as possible just earns you that respect. They see you've done the homework. They see you know what you're talking about, and you're not just there, for some other reason, that you're really there because you love sports and you understand the game. And so I think just be as prepared as you can be. That would be my best advice for being taken seriously in the business. And then I think too, just the way you treat people, just being kind to everybody and holding yourself with confidence and knowing who you are, but also not taking yourself too seriously and remembering that at the end of the day, you're covering sports. But yeah, preparation would be number one.
So aside from your degree at Penn State, you're now earning an interior design degree from the New York Institute of Art and Design. Is this something you've always been interested in? And how do you hope to use this in the future?
Yeah, great questions. I actually finished the schooling. I think I need to update that on my website. Good job researching, by the way. So I am certified now in interior design. I can't say it was something I always wanted to do, but it was pre-COVID actually that I decided it was something that I loved. I moved to Nashville with my boyfriend at the time, and I was decorating our house and working with an interior designer at the time, and I just had so much fun doing it. And I've always been very right-brained, creative. I love design. I love art. So I just got really excited about it, and I loved doing it. And I thought, why not in the meantime, in an off season, try and get my degree in interior design. So it took me a few years to get it done. It was a lot more work than I anticipated. And certainly during the marathon of football season from end of August to mid-February, I wasn't opening a book on interior design at all. But it's been a blast. And I've been able to do a few houses since. And I love it. The only thing I would say is it's ever since COVID, there's a lot of backup with ordering and supply chain. And so it's a lot more difficult than I thought it would be to get things in a timely manner. And so many things arrive damaged and you have to send them back. So there's like a lot of headache that comes with it. But the job itself is so fun, and seeing rooms come together, and it just kind of fulfills that like artsy side that I have. So yeah.
Very cool. So this is kind of a fun, sillier question, but who is the most famous person in your phone that you can share with us?
Ooh, most famous person in my phone. Harry Underwood.
Oh my God, that's a really good one.
Yeah, she would be the most famous person in my phone. My ex-boyfriend played hockey with her husband, Mike, and we've hung out a bunch of times, and she's a great girl. Her and Mike are an amazing couple, and I've just had the pleasure to be able to spend some time with her. And yeah, I would say Carrie is probably the most famous person in my phone.
Is she like as awesome as she comes across on stage?
She is. She's very she's shockingly normal in person, like in a great way. You know, she's just a normal person. She has a beautiful garden that she loves at home. You know, she's not you know, so out there that you can't relate to her. She's just a really cool person. You can talk to her about anything. She loves her dogs and her family, and she's just a very normal person. So yeah, she's really cool.
She was just here at the Bryce Jordan Center, I think, right?
That's right. Yeah, she was. We just saw her here in Nashville 2 weeks ago. So it was a great show.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what is next for you? Do you have any big plans coming up, or any goals that you have in the next few years?
Yeah, great question. So I'm in a contract year with CBS. So hopefully working out a new contract to remain on the NFL. And gosh, my biggest goal is to cover the Super Bowl. So we'll see. Hopefully in the next, 5 years or so. I'm not saying Tracy's going anywhere, but if she just so decides, maybe that'll be, something down the road for me in the next few years. So that will be my biggest goal. But just to keep going. I love covering the NFL. I feel like I've cultivated amazing relationships, and it's taken 5 years to really build that familiarity with players and coaches, and that trust that you need for them to trust you with information, that you're gonna tell it in the best way possible. And that's I feel like the last 5 years have been sort of cultivating those relationships. So now hopefully the next 5 can be just growing those and bring all of that to fruition even more. So definitely just going to continue doing what I'm doing for, as long as I can. And yeah, that would be my biggest goal, just to keep going.
What is it like to work with Kevin Harlan? I know you've been on his broadcast team for a little bit. He's just such a legend in every sport he covers. And it just seems like he's one of the best storytellers of our generation.
I couldn't agree more. He is a legend among us. He is so good at his job, and his voice is incredible. And his calls, like the way he calls games, is so fun, to the point where like I'll be down on the sideline and I have my earpiece in. So of course I usually just wear one of them so I can hear what's going on the benches and what coaches and players are saying in the one ear. And then in my other ear, I'm hearing what the guys are saying up in the booth, because I'm trying to keep up with the game and interject whenever I can. And there will be moments in games where Kevin is just screaming in his voice in my ear, and I'm like going nuts down on the sideline, like, what is happening? And he's just, gosh, he makes it so much fun. And even more so than the guy he is in the booth, he's such a wonderful human off camera and out of the booth. He's family to me. He's an amazing husband and father. I don't have enough good things to say about him. He's just truly remarkable, and I feel so honored to work with him every week. I love being a teammate of Kevin's.
So for every episode we do, we ask the guest if they have an intro and outro song they'd like to be brought into the episode with. So do you have any song in mind that you would like to be brought in with?
That is a good question. I played in this softball game this last summer. My walk-up song was Notorious B.I.G. Juicy. Let's do that. We'll just keep that one. I like that.
So do you have any words of wisdom for college students?
Words of wisdom, absolutely. Follow your heart with what you want to do. I feel like I have so many friends who felt pressure to go into a certain field because their parents were in that field, or majored in something that they thought was what they wanted, and then they got out of school and they were like, that was such a waste. Why did I do that? It's not what I want to do. I would say follow your heart with what you truly want to do, and try not to put too much pressure on yourself to find the perfect job right out of school. It is not easy right now. And I would say, especially in this industry, I know everyone, they graduate and they want the sideline reporter job, or they want to be the host of this show. And you just have to be open to other roles and saying yes to different opportunities, because that's how you get your foot in the door. And it's not always going to be the perfect role right off the bat. I remember, gosh, my first on-air job, actually, while I was still in school, and you guys asked me about that and I forgot about this, was with AccuWeather. I was covering weather, and I never wanted to cover weather. I mean, I watched the Weather Channel growing up, and I like wanted to chase tornadoes kind of as a joke, but like I never saw myself covering weather. But it was something that I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to be on camera here, because this is the only option I have at the time. And I learned how to have a green screen behind me and be able to use that. And I just picked up so many different things saying yes to that helped me down the road when I was eventually able to get the job that I wanted. So I would say keep your options open, say yes to opportunities and experiences that may not even be like perfectly in line with what you think you want, but doors continue to open as much as you are willing to put yourself out there. So that would be my career-wise biggest piece of wisdom, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great advice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. We loved having you.
Thank you all for having me. I had a blast. Appreciate all your great questions.
And if you don't know, now you know, nigga.
That was another episode of Podward State. We had Melanie Collins on, and it was a really good episode. What did you guys think?
It was awesome. I thought it was really cool how she said she applied to like 50 internships when she was a junior. No, she applied to 50 jobs when she was graduating, and the one that responded was Penn Network.
I feel like
Crazy.
The system is different now. Like, we're not sending letters to people, but it's so the same. Like, you just have to, like, she said, like, I shot up a prayer with, like, the Big Ten, and it stuck, so it hit.
That even, like, all the local networks weren't, like, having her, like, respond to her, but Big Ten Network did. Like, that's great.
Imagine now they look back. I know, they see the application, they're like, we missed out.
Yeah, she gave really good advice, though, as to following your dreams. Like, she started at AccuWeather, and now she's on track to cover every big NFL game, so it's really cool to see the trajectory of her career.
Yeah, it was a great episode.
We'll see you next episode. I'm Shannon Smith.
I'm Krause.
I'm Grace Cunningham.
Representing B-Town in the house. Junior Mafia, Math Label. Yeah.